Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive? Today we're going to tackle Data Science from Scratch by Joel Gruce.
Oh, yeah, this one's great.
It's all about finding those data insights and using them practically. So
Yeah, it's written so anyone can understand it, really.
cool.
And it uses Python, but the ideas, are universal. So
Yeah.
it's a good one, no matter your background.
Well, and right away the author he throws out this funny definition of a data scientist, like someone who knows more statistics than a computer scientist and more computer science than a statistician.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Right. It's kind of intimidating, but also kind of funny.
Well, it's definitely funny,
Yeah.
but it shows that data science is really drawing from all these different fields, right? To
Yeah.
solve problems. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this superpower.
Yeah.
You can find patterns and make predictions
Uh-huh.
using data.
Okay, maybe not actual superpowers,
Right.
but it does make you think, what if you could analyze social networks and figure out, who the real influencers are?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or even personalize the ads you see online.
Absolutely.
The book shows you how that's done.
It does. It goes even further, too. Like, think about recommendation systems, like how Netflix suggests stuff you might want to watch.
Oh, yeah.
That's data science, too, figuring out your preferences and then making predictions.
So it's not just about, crunching numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding people, too.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting. But where do we even begin?
Yeah, good question.
What are the tools we need?
Well, one of the first things is data visualization.
Okay.
Imagine creating charts and graphs that, tell a story. They reveal trends and patterns in the data. The book uses this library called Matplotlib, but it applies to any visualization tool.
So it's like being a detective, but instead of clues, we have data points.
Yeah, exactly.
And these charts help us make sense of it all.
Exactly. But there's a catch. The book has this, cautionary tale about how, messing with a chart, changing the axis, it can totally distort the picture.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good reminder that, yeah, visualization's powerful,
Right.
but it needs to be ethical and accurate.
Yeah, we don't want to mislead anyone or
Right.
even ourselves, accidentally.
Yeah.
So besides the visuals, what else is key to understanding data?
Statistics, of course.
Oh, yeah.
You'll dive into mean, median, variance, standard deviation,
Right.
all that good stuff.
I remember those from school.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, I wasn't always sure how they applied to the real world.
Yeah.
This book kind of brings it to life, though.
It does.
There's an example about salaries of data scientists with different levels of experience.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
By analyzing the data, you can see that data scientists with more experience earn way more than those just starting out.
Oh, wow.
That's real-world insight.
Right.
That could help someone planning a career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not just learning about these abstract concepts.
Yeah.
We're seeing how they're used, in real life.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm ready for the next level.
All right.
What about machine learning?
Oh, yeah.
That seems to be everywhere these days.
It's huge.
Right.
Yeah, so machine learning, it's all about teaching computers to learn from data without, us having to program them.
Oh, wow.
Imagine giving them a ton of examples.
Yeah.
And letting them figure out the rules.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it covers 3 types: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning.
Okay, give me a quick breakdown of each.
Yeah, so in supervised learning, you give the computer labeled data, so pictures of cats and dogs, and it learns to tell the difference.
Okay.
Unsupervised learning is more about finding patterns in unlabeled data. So it's grouping customers with similar buying habits.
Right.
And then reinforcement learning.
Okay.
That's all about teaching a computer to make decisions, like playing a game.
So with supervised learning, we're showing the computer the right answers.
Yeah, exactly.
And it figures out how to get there. Unsupervised is more like letting the computer explore and find its own patterns.
Right, exactly.
And reinforcement learning is like training a virtual pet.
Yeah, like that.
That's a helpful way to think about it.
Good.
But how do we know if our machine learning model is any good?
That's where things like overfitting and underfitting come in.
Okay.
The book uses this example of fitting polynomials to data.
Yeah.
If the model's too complex, it might overfit the training data.
Oh.
It's like memorizing the answers instead of, understanding the concept.
Right. So it's like that student who aces the test but then forgets everything the next day.
Exactly.
Not very useful.
Right.
In the long run.
And then a model that's too simple
Yeah.
might underfit the data and miss important patterns.
Okay, so we got to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, you need that balance.
Make sure it's smart enough to learn,
Right.
but not so smart it just memorizes the answer.
Exactly.
Got it. But enough about the theory.
Yeah.
Let's talk algorithms.
Yeah.
What kind of magic does this book unveil?
It starts with one that's actually simple but really effective called naive Bayes.
Okay.
It's used for things like filtering spam emails.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So imagine you have a bunch of emails.
Okay.
Some are spam, some aren't.
Yeah.
Naive Bayes looks at the words in each email,
Uh-huh.
calculates the probability of those words appearing in spam versus not spam.
Mm.
Then when a new email comes in,
Okay.
it uses those probabilities to decide if it's spam.
So it's analyzing word frequencies
Right.
to make a judgment call.
Exactly.
Pretty clever.
It is.
What other algorithms are on the menu?
Another one is nearest neighbors,
Okay.
which, classifies data points based on how close they are to labeled examples. Think of it like judging a book by its cover
Yeah.
or a data point by its neighbors.
But what if all the neighbors are giving bad advice?
Well, that's where the curse of dimensionality comes in.
Oh, yeah.
As the number of features increases,
Right.
it's harder to find those good neighbors.
The book talks about things like dimensionality reduction
Okay.
to help with this.
Dimensionality reduction. So it's about simplifying things without losing too much information.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like finding the most important features, the ones that really drive the patterns.
All right. So we've got naive Bayes, nearest neighbors.
Yeah.
What other algorithm all-stars should we be aware of?
We'll dive into those in the next part of our deep dive.
Cliffhanger.
But first,
Yeah.
I want to touch on something really important
Okay.
that goes beyond just algorithms.
All right. I'm hooked. What is it?
It's all about data ethics. Just
Yeah.
because we can do something with data
Yeah.
doesn't mean we should.
Right.
We have to think about the consequences and make sure we're using data responsibly.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Data can be powerful.
it is.
And with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Absolutely. We need to think about privacy, bias, fairness.
It's not just about building accurate models.
Right.
It's about ethical ones.
That's a great point. Data science isn't
Hey,
just
everyone.
about
Ready for a
the
deep
technical
dive.
stuff.
Today
No.
we're going to
It's about making sure we're
data
using our
science from
powers for good.
scratch
Exactly.
By Joel Gruss.
That's
Oh,
what makes it
yeah,
so
this one's
fascinating and
great.
important.
It's all about finding
Stay
those
tuned for
data
part
insights
2,
and
where
using
we'll
them practically.
Yeah.
go
It's
even
written so
deeper
anyone
into
can
those
understand it,
algorithms
Cool.
and
And
see
it
how
uses
they're used
Python,
to
but,
solve real
the
world
ideas,
problems.
Sounds good.
are
Okay.
universal. So
Okay, we're
a good
back.
one, no
Ready
matter
for
your
more
background.
data science from
Well, and,
scratch?
Yeah.
Right away,
last time
the
we talked
author,
about
he
some
throws
pretty
out this,
powerful concepts like data
funny definition of a
visualization,
data
Right.
scientist,
machine learning.
someone who knows more
Now I'm kinda
statistics
itching to dive
than a
into
computer
those
scientist
algorithms you
and more
mentioned.
computer
Yeah,
science
so
than a
before we get into the
statistician.
algorithms themselves,
a
Okay.
good one.
the
Right.
book
It's kinda
actually takes a
intimidating, but
step
also kinda
back.
funny.
Well,
It's
it talks
definitely
about how
funny.
we get our
Yeah.
hands
But it,
on the data
it shows
in
that
the
data
first
science
place.
is really
Oh,
drawing
okay.
from all
It's
these
like
different fields.
prepping the ingredients
Yeah.
before you
It's
start
like
the
cooking.
superpower.
Makes sense. You can't
You
make a
find
delicious
patterns and make
data-driven
predictions.
dish
Right.
Using
without the right
data.
ingredients.
Okay,
So
maybe
yeah.
not
So what are
actual
some ways to
superpowers.
gather
Right.
data? But it does
Well,
make
it
you
covers
think,
everything from
what if you
reading
could
data
analyze social
from
networks and
simple
figure out,
text files
who the
to
real
something called web
influencers are?
scraping.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or
where
even
you extract
personalize the
data
ads you
from
see online.
websites. Absolutely.
Web scraping.
That sounds
The book shows you how
intense.
that's
Is
done.
that
something anyone
It does.
can
It
do.
goes even
Yeah,
further
the book
too.
breaks it
Like
down
think
so it's
about
easy to
recommendation
understand.
systems,
Okay.
like how
It shows you
Netflix
how to
suggests
use
stuff
these
you might want to watch.
libraries
Oh,
like
yeah.
That's data
requests
science too.
to fetch web
figuring out your
pages
preferences and then making
beautiful
predictions.
soup
So it's not just
to
about
parse the
crunching
HTML and
numbers.
get the
Right.
info
It's about
you need.
understanding
So
people too. with web
Absolutely.
scraping,
Oh,
we
that's
could
interesting.
tap
But
into this
where do
whole
we even
universe of
begin?
data out
Yeah,
there
good
Yeah, you
question.
could.
on the
The
web.
tools
It
we need.
is.
Wow,
one
that's
of the
pretty
first
amazing.
things is
Yeah,
data
it's powerful, but
visualization.
it's important
Okay.
to do it
Imagine
ethically.
creating
Okay.
The book
charts and
talks about
graphs
that too,
that
like
tell a
respecting
story, they
website
reveal
terms of
trends
service
and
and not
patterns in the
overloading
data.
their servers.
Yeah, we don't want to be
book
like
uses
rude
this
data
library
gathering
called
robots or
Matplotlib.
anything.
Exactly.
But
So once we've gathered all this data
applies
from
to
different
any
places,
visualization
what's
tool.
next? So it's
Well,
like
then
being a
comes
detective,
the
but
data
instead of
cleaning
clues,
and
we have like
preparation.
data points.
This is where you
Yeah,
get your
exactly.
data,
And these charts help
sneaky
us make
clean,
sense of it
ready
all.
for
Exactly.
analysis.
So it's
But
like
there's a
prepping those
catch.
veggies
The
before you
book
cook.
has this
Exact
You gotta
cautionary
wash 'em,
tale
chop
about
'em.
how,
Right.
like, gotta peel away some
messing with the
unwanted bits.
charts, like
Yeah, data
changing
cleaning,
the
it
axis,
doesn't
it
sound
can
as
totally
exciting
distort
as
the
web
picture.
scraping.
Right.
Oh yeah, because
It's a good
important
reminder
It is.
that
It's super important.
visualization
to
is
get
powerful,
things right before you start
but it
analyzing.
needs to be ethical and
Yeah,
accurate.
you might have
Yeah, we don't want to
missing
mislead
values.
anyone
Right.
or even ourselves.
Outliers,
accidentally.
you might
Yeah.
need to
So
transform
besides
the
the
data
visuals,
Okay.
what else
into a
is like
format that
key
works
to
for your
understanding
algorithms.
data? So is there like a
Statistics, of
specific
course.
kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
cleaning
You'll
we
dive
need to do?
into
Yeah, the
mean,
book even
median,
introduces
variance, standard
feature scaling.
deviation,
Feature
all
scaling.
where you
Good stuff.
I
adjust
remember
the
those from
scale
school.
of
Yeah.
different features.
But I'll Okay. admit, I
So
wasn't
they're more
always sure how they
comparable.
applied to the
Can you give me an
real
example?
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like imagine you're trying
This
to
book
predict.
kind of brings it to life, though.
It does.
There's an
house
example about
prices
salaries of
based on things like
data
size
scientists with
and
different
number
levels
of
of
bedrooms.
experience.
Okay.
Yeah, the size of the house
By analyzing
that's
the
measured in
data,
square feet.
you can
Could
see
be
that data
hundreds to
scientists with more
thousands.
experience earn
But
way more than
bedrooms,
those
that's
just
a much
starting
smaller
out.
range.
Oh, wow.
Usually
That's
just a
real-world
few.
insight.
So if we don't
that could
adjust
help
for that
someone
difference
planning
in
a
scale,
career.
absolutely.
The size feature might
So we're
like,
not just learning about
overshadow
these
the
like
bedroom feature.
abstract
Exactly.
concepts,
even
Yeah.
though they're
we're
both
seeing
important.
how
Exactly.
they're
Feature
used,
scaling levels, the
in
playing
real
field.
life.
Exactly.
Okay,
Make sure
I'm
all
ready
the
for the next
features
level.
contribute equally.
What about machine
Okay.
learning?
Oh,
I'm starting to see how important
That
data
seems to be like
preparation is.
everywhere.
Yeah.
these
It's like
days.
laying a
huge.
solid foundation.
Yeah, so machine
is?
learning,
Before
it's
you
all
build
about
your
teaching
data-driven
computers to
masterpiece or
learn
something.
from
Exactly.
data.
But once the data
without,
is prepped,
Right.
us
how
having
do we
to
actually start
program them.
exploring
Oh, wow.
it?
Like imagine
Well,
giving them
the
a ton
book
of
dives
examples
Yeah.
and letting
different
them figure out the
techniques for
rules.
that's
exploring
cool.
data.
Yeah, it covers
Okay.
three types.
One-dimensional and
Supervised,
multidimensional.
unsupervised.
So for one-dimensional
and
data,
reinforcement
Okay.
learning.
you might use
Okay, give me a quick
histograms,
breakdown of
box
each.
plots.
Yeah, so
to see how a
in
single
supervised
variable
learning,
is
you
distributed.
give the computer
Right.
labeled data,
multidimensional
so like
data.
pictures
Okay.
of cats
You
and
might
dogs.
use
Uh-huh.
scatter
And it learns
plots
to tell
Yeah.
the
to
difference.
see the relationship between variables.
Unsupervised learning is
Histograms,
more about
box
finding
plots,
patterns
scatter
in
plots.
unlabeled
Yeah.
data.
Feeling a bit nostalgic for stats
So it's
class?
like
I know,
grouping
right?
customers
It's
with
good to
similar
see how
buying
these
habits.
tools are
Right,
used
right.
practically, though.
And then
Yeah, it's not
reinforcement
just about the
learning.
tools, though.
That's all about
the book really
teaching a computer
emphasizes
to make
critical
decisions,
thinking.
like playing
Okay.
a game.
Not
So
jumping
with
to
supervised
conclusions
learning, we're like
just because
showing the
things are
computer the right
correlated.
answer.
Correlation
Yeah,
does not equal
exactly.
causation.
and it figures out how to get there.
Just because two things seem
Unsupervised
related
is more like
Right.
letting the
doesn't mean
computer
one causes
explore
the
and
other.
find
Exactly.
its own patterns.
There could
Right,
be other
exactly.
factors
And
we're not
reinforcement
seeing.
learning is like
Yeah.
training a
The
virtual
book gives
pet.
this great example
Yeah,
about
like
shark
that.
attacks and ice
That's
cream
a helpful way to
sales.
think about it.
Okay.
They might be correlated,
How do we know if our
but it
machine
doesn't
learning
mean
model is any good?
eating ice cream attracts
That's where
sharks.
things like overfitting
There's
and
probably a
underfitting
third
come in.
factor.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
the book
Like
uses
warm
this
weather.
example
Makes sense
of
affecting
fitting
both.
polynomials
So we need
to
to be
data.
careful not
If
to
the model's too
overinterpret
complex,
the data.
It might
Always
overfit the training
consider
data.
other explanations.
Right.
It's like I'm seeing how data
Memorizing
science
the answers
is as much
instead
about
of,
critical thinking as
understanding
it is
the
about the
concept.
technical
Right, so it's like that
skills.
student who
Absolutely.
aces
And
the
speaking of
test but then
technical
forgets
skills,
everything the
yeah.
next day.
Ready
Exactly.
to dive
Not
into
very
some
useful.
algorithms
Right.
in
You
the long
bet.
run.
I'm
And then a
eager to
model
see
that's
how
too
these
simple
algorithms solve
Yeah.
might
real
underfit the
world
data.
problems.
Okay,
and
let's start with one we
misimportant
mentioned
patterns.
before.
Okay.
Okay, so we gotta find
Naive
that sweet
Bayes.
spot.
Yeah, you need
yes,
that
the
balance.
Make sure it's
algorithm
smart
that
enough
helps
to
us
learn.
fight
Right.
those spam
But
emails.
not so smart. It's just
Exactly.
remind me
Memorizes
how
the
it
answer.
works.
Exactly.
So
Got it.
remember,
But
it
enough about the
analyzes the
theory.
words in
Let's
emails,
talk algorithms.
figures out the
What kind
probability of those
magic
words
does
appearing in
this
spam
book
or not.
unveil?
Right.
It
It
then
starts with
uses
one that's
those
actually
probabilities
simple
to
but really
decide if
effective,
a
called
new
naive
email
Bayes.
is spam.
Okay. So it's
It's
learning
used for
from
things
past
like
examples
filtering
to
spam
make
emails.
predictions about new data.
Okay, I'm all
Exactly.
ears.
So
That's
imagine
pretty
you have
cool.
a bunch
It
of emails.
is,
Okay.
and it's
Some are spam,
surprisingly
some aren't.
effective.
Yeah.
The
Naive
book even
Bayes
walks you
looks
through
at the
building
words in
a
each
simple
email,
spam filter
calculates the
yourself.
probability
Oh, wow.
of
from
those
scratch.
words appearing
Building
in
a spam filter, that's
versus
something I
not
could actually
spam.
use.
Right.
Then
great
when a
way to
new
see
email
machine
comes
learning in
in,
action.
Okay.
it
Okay.
uses
What other
those
algorithms
probabilities
are
to
waiting to be
decide
unleashed?
if it's spam.
Back for more
So it's
data science
analyzing
fun
word
with
frequencies.
data science from
Right.
scratch.
Make a
Oh
judgment
yeah, always
call.
a good time.
Exactly.
Last time we were getting
It is.
into
What other
machine learning
algorithms are
algorithms
there?
like
Another
naive
one is
Bayes
nearest
and
neighbors,
how it can
Okay.
be used for
which
spam filtering.
classifies data
What
points
other
based on
problem-solving
how
tools
close they are
does
to
this book
labeled
have up its
examples.
sleeve?
Well, we
Think of
touched
it like
on
judging
nearest
a book
neighbors
by its
before.
cover.
Remember,
or a data point by
it
its
classifies
But what
data
if all the
points based
neighbors
on
are
how
giving bad
similar they
advice?
are
Well,
to
that's where the
other
curse of
labeled
dimensionality
examples.
comes in.
Right,
Oh,
like judging
yeah.
a
As
book
the
by its
number of
cover
features
or a
increases,
data point by
it's
its
harder to find those
neighbors.
Exactly.
good neighbors.
But we also talked about that.
The book
curse of
talks about things like
dimensionality,
Oh,
dimensionality
yeah.
reduction.
where it gets harder to
Okay.
find those
To help
meaningful
with this.
neighbors.
Dimensionality
as the
reduction.
number of
So it's
features
about like
increases.
simplifying
It does,
things.
but the book talks about
without
how things like
losing too
dimensionality
much
reduction
information.
can help.
Yeah, exactly.
It even
Okay.
gives this
It's like
practical
finding the most
example
important
of
features.
using nearest
Mm.
neighbors
ones
to
that really drive the
classify
patterns.
iris flowers.
Classifying flowers with
All right, so we've got
Yeah.
naive Bayes
Based on their
nearest
measurements.
neighbors.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
What
Yeah.
other
But how would I use
algorithm
that
all
in, say,
stars
my own work?
should we be aware of?
Well, think about
We'll
any
dive into those in the
situation
next
where you
part of
need
our
to
deep
categorize
dive.
things
Cliffhanger.
But
based on
first,
their
I want to
characteristics.
touch on
Okay.
something really
Maybe you're
important.
trying to
Okay.
segment
That goes
customers
beyond
based on
just
buying behavior
algorithms.
or
Right,
group
I'm hooked.
documents
What is
by
it?
topic,
It's all
nearest
about
neighbors could be
data
useful for
ethics.
that.
So instead of
You know,
flowers,
just
I
because
could
we
be
can do something
classifying
with
customer
data
Yeah.
or
doesn't
even
mean we
text
should.
documents.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know, we have to
exactly.
think about the
I'm starting to see
consequences
the possibilities
and make sure
here.
we're
What other
using data
algorithms are we
responsibly.
exploring?
Okay.
Let's
makes
talk
sense.
decision
Yeah.
trees.
Data can be powerful.
They're known for
It
being
is.
really
And with great power
interpretable,
comes
so you
great
can easily see
responsibility,
how they
right?
make a decision.
Absolutely.
It's
You
like
know, we
following
need
a
to think
flow
about
chart.
Flowcharts now, those
privacy,
I can understand.
bias,
Right.
fairness.
So,
How
it's
do
not
decision
just about
trees work
building
with
machine
accurate
learning.
models?
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Well,
about
the book
ethical
explains how to
ones.
build one
That's a
from
great
scratch
point. Data
using an
science isn't
algorithm
just
called
about
ID3.
the technical
Okay.
stuff.
It
No.
basically
It's
starts
about
with the
making
question
sure
that
we're
splits the
using our
data into
powers
two
for
groups.
good.
Exactly.
Then keeps asking
That's
more
what makes it so
questions to
fascinating
divide
and
the data
important.
Well said.
further.
Okay.
Stay tuned
Until
for
it can
part
make a
2, where we'll
prediction.
So it's like a
you know,
game of
Go
20
even
questions.
deeper into
Yeah,
those
like that.
algorithms.
Each
Yeah.
question
and see
helps
how
you
they're
narrow
used to
down the
solve
possibilities
real-world
Right.
problems.
until you get to the
Sounds good.
answer.
Okay.
But just like
Okay,
other We're back,
algorithms.
ready
Is
for
there a
more data
potential
science from
pitfall
scratch?
Yeah.
Well,
Last
there's
time we
always
talked about some
overfitting.
pretty powerful
Overfitting, right?
concepts,
Where the
like
model
data
memorizes the
Right.
training data
machine
too well.
learning,
Exactly.
and doesn't
Now I'm
generalize
kind of
to
itching
new
to
data.
dive
Yep.
into those algorithms
So to
you
avoid
mentioned.
that,
Yeah, so
the
before
book
we get
talks
into the
about
algorithms
random
themselves,
forests.
Okay.
the book
Imagine
actually
combining
takes a
the
step back.
predictions
Oh.
of
and talks
multiple
about how we
decision
get our
trees
hands
Oh,
on the
okay.
data
to get a
in the
more
first
robust
place.
Oh,
and
okay.
reliable
It's like
result.
prepping the
So it's like getting a
ingredients
second
before you
opinion,
start
or
cooking.
multiple
Makes sense. You
opinions.
can't make a
Oh.
delicious
From a whole forest of
data-driven
trees.
Yeah,
dish
that's a great
Right.
analogy.
without the right ingredients.
Random
So what are
forests
some
can
ways to
often
gather
improve the
data?
accuracy Well,
and
it covers everything
stability
from
of
reading
predictions.
data
Okay,
from
so
like
we've
simple
covered some
text files
powerful
to
algorithms
something
for
called web
classification.
scraping,
Right.
where
What
you
about
extract
predicting
data from
numerical
websites.
values? Like if I
Web
wanted to
scraping.
predict
That
house
sounds
prices or stock
intense.
prices,
Is that
something
Well,
anyone
the
can
book
do?
covers
Yeah,
that
the
too.
book
It
breaks
goes
it down so
into
it's easy to
linear
understand.
regression,
Okay.
It
which is
shows
a
you how to use
classic
these
technique for
libraries
modeling
like
the relationship
requests
between variables
to fetch
using
web
a straight
pages
line.
Linear
and
regression,
beautiful
that rings a
soup
bell.
to
Yeah.
It's all about
parse the
finding the best
HTML
fitting
and get
line
the info you
through a
need.
bunch of
So
data points,
with
right?
web
That's it.
scraping, we could
And the
like
book
tap into
explains
this
how to
whole
find
universe
that
of data
line
out there.
using
Yeah,
a
you
method
could.
On the
called
web.
least squares.
It is.
Okay. Wow, that's
Which
pretty amazing.
minimizes
Yeah,
the
it's
difference
powerful,
between the
but it's
predicted
important to do
values
it ethically.
and the real
you know?
values.
Okay.
The book
So if
talks
I had
about
data
that too,
on
like
house prices
respecting
and
website
features
terms
like
of
size,
service,
location,
not
number of
overloading their
bedrooms.
server.
Yeah, we don't
I
want to
could
be
use
like
linear
linear data
regression
gathering
to predict
robots
the
or
price
anything.
of a new
Exactly.
house.
So once we've
based on
gathered all
those
this data
features.
from different
Exactly.
places,
Yeah.
There's even
what's
an
next?
example of
Well, then
using it to
comes
predict
the
how long
data
users
cleaning
spend
and
on a
preparation.
website.
Oh,
This
this
is
is
where
based
you
on
get your
things
data,
like,
you know,
spooky
their number
clean,
of
ready
friends
for
and
analysis.
work
So it's like
hours.
prepping those veggies
It's a really
before you
practical
cook.
application.
Exactly.
You got to
So far,
wash them,
we've
chop
focused
them
on,
Right,
like one
gotta peel
variable
away
at a
some
time.
unwanted
Uh-huh.
bits.
Yeah,
But what if we
data
wanna look at
cleaning, it
multiple
doesn't sound as
factors?
exciting
Well, that's where
as web
multiple
scraping.
regression comes
Right.
in.
Okay.
Because it's important
Imagine trying
It
to
is,
predict
it's super
someone's
important.
salary
To get things
based
right
on
before you
years
start
of
analyzing.
experience,
Yeah,
education,
you might have
and
missing
location.
values.
Right. You'd need to
Hmm.
consider all of
Outliers.
those.
Exactly.
You might need to
And the book
transform the
explains how to
data
do this
Okay.
into a
using
format
a
that
technique
works for
called
your
gradient
algorithms.
descent.
So
Gradient
is there like a
descent. I think we've heard
specific
that
kind
before.
of
Yeah.
cleaning
It's
we
an
need to
algorithm
do?
that helps us
Yeah,
find
the
the
book
minimum
even
of a function.
introduces
Got it.
Yeah.
feature
It's used in
scaling,
a lot of
Features
machine
where
learning
you adjust the
algorithms,
scale
including
of
multiple
different
regression.
features.
This is all
Okay.
starting
So they're
to feel
more
very
comparable.
interconnected.
It is.
Can
It
you
all
give me an
ties
example?
together.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing
So like
how
imagine
all the
you're
pieces
trying
of
to
the data
predict
science puzzle fit together.
That's what's so great
house
about this
prices
book. It shows
based
you
on
how
things like
these concepts
size and
build on
number
each
of
other
bedrooms.
to
Okay.
give you a
The size of the
powerful
house
toolkit for
that's
solving
measured in square
real-world
feet
problems.
could
This
be hundreds
deep
to
dive
thousands.
has been an
Right.
incredible journey
But
through
bedrooms,
data
that's a
science
much
from
smaller
scratch.
range, usually
We've covered
just a
everything
few.
from
So if we don't
gathering
adjust
data
for that difference in
cleaning it,
scale,
the
to
size
explore
feature might
it and
like
building predictive models.
overshadow
It's been
the
a lot of
bedroom
fun.
feature.
I feel like I've got
Even
a
though they're
solid
both important.
foundation now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feature
In the
scaling levels
fundamentals
the
of
playing
data
field.
science.
Okay.
Make sure
And
all
I'm
the
excited
features
to keep
contribute
learning.
equally.
Me too.
Okay. What's one key
I'm starting to
takeaway
see how
you want our
important data
listeners to
preparation
remember?
is.
Yeah.
It's like laying a
Data
solid
is
foundation
everywhere. It is.
before
and with
you
data
build
science,
your
we
data-driven
can unlock its
masterpiece or something.
potential. Exactly.
But once
Yeah.
the data is
gain insights,
prepped,
make better
how do we
decisions,
actually
and
start
even
exploring
create
it?
innovative
Well,
solutions.
the book
That's a
dives
great
into
point.
And this
different
book
techniques
gives you
for
the tools
exploring
to start your
data.
own journey.
Okay.
It does, no
One-dimensional
matter your
and
background.
So
multidimensional.
go out there, explore
So
the
for
data
one-dimensional
around you,
data,
Yeah.
and see
you
what you
might
can discover.
use
Exactly.
histograms, box plots.
Thanks for joining us for
to
this
see
deep
how a
dive
single
into
variable
data
is
science from
distributed
scratch.
Right.
for It's been fun. multidimensional
Keep
data.
exploring,
You
keep
might use
learning,
scatter
and
plots
keep the data
Yeah.
to
flowing.
see the relationship between variables.